Hello and welcome to the Rise Up in Business podcast. I'm Tracy Myler-Crane and I'm your host. This is the legal and business podcast for small business owners, where I draw from my experience as a business lawyer and the insights I've gained from supporting hundreds of service-based businesses. When it comes to what can go wrong in business, there is nothing I haven't seen. I believe prevention is better than cure, always. And through this podcast, I'm sharing with you what you need to know to build strong legal foundations in your business and to set yourself up for long-term sustainable success. Let's dive into today's episode. Hello everyone and welcome back to the podcast. In today's episode, I want to talk to you about success in business and success in life. And the reason I want to talk about this is because my son turned 12 earlier in the month, and it was a really reflective time for me, I found, not the least of which because I appreciate that in 12 months, he'll be a teenager, and I just don't feel like I'm ready for that. And I know that I speak to a lot of parents and everyone says it creeps up, but I really feel like this time is flying and it's really creeping up, which is probably why I found myself in a really reflective state lately, which is always really valuable. And I enjoy those moments. And I wanted to talk about that here with you today in the context of success. The background to this being the ethos that underpins my business and why I set my business up the way that I did when I did. And for long-time listeners, you'll know that I set the business up in the way that I did 7 years ago now, because at the time, both of my little ones were about to be in full-time school. I was teaching law at ANU, and I was then reflecting on whether I wanted to be the founder of a new business to do law in a way that was really different, in a way that aligned with the life that I wanted to build, but in a way that I knew would be able to provide quality services in a really accessible way to business owners all across the country. So there were a few key principles underpinning my decision to launch the business, and I have found that the 7-year mark has been a really nice time to reflect on the business as a whole and the life that it's allowed me to lead. In doing that, the first question that I asked myself was, does success look like this? And that's what I want to ask you and talk about in this episode. So when I sat down a couple of weeks ago and I was thinking about all the things that have happened over the last 12 years and what we've achieved and how we've grown personally and professionally, I asked myself, does success look like this? And I felt really blessed and privileged in that moment to be able to say, yes, it does, because my son's turned 12 and I was there for it. I wasn't rushing off to court. I wasn't stressed about having to return phone calls to clients really late at night, because that's litigation practice. I wasn't dealing with the intensity of timeframes and deadlines set by the court and clients who were really in stressed situations because they were experiencing real destruction in their businesses, being caught up in litigation and court work. That was my previous life. That was back in the earlier years of my career life. And back then, devoting my entire existence to my work, that was success for me back then because I didn't know any better. And I also didn't know the power of asking the question back then. So if I look back to my younger self, what I would love to say to her is pause and ask yourself, does success look like this? And back then, if I had have known that it could have been different, well, my answer would have been no, but I didn't know. Fast forward, here I am. So I've built a business now where I can really live my values and really live in my truth. And one of my success metrics now is slow mornings. And I've shared that openly on here and over on Instagram and social media where we're really active. Slow mornings, being present and doing work that I love so that I don't have that sinking stomach feeling, knowing that we've got impending court deadlines or court appearances. Are we prepared? There's so much at stake. The stress and intensity that went with that season of life and of my career is not a success metric for me now. In fact, it's the opposite. Making sure that I don't have that sinking stomach feeling and that intensity and those stress levels and those really high cortisol levels and living in 98% masculine energy, not having that is a success metric, if you like. So there's power in asking the question, does success look like this? And for me now, it does. And that's not to say it always will. It changes and that's okay. This is a conversation I have with most of my new clients when they reach out, because what we do here in this business is develop contracts and legal documents for clients that work to set them up for success, to set them up for long-term sustainable success. So because that's what I do, I need to ask the question, well, what does success look like for you? Often it just comes out in my new calls with clients anyway, so I can tell very quickly what it is that this client wants to achieve, what success looks like. And typically, if it's a business that's earlier on in the journey, it is growth, it is client engagement, retention, revenue. That's where the focus tends to be on the newer businesses. Once those businesses get more established, and I'm talking to more established business owners, the metrics of success or the drivers for success tend to focus around some balance, some space, working with clients they love, doing work that lights them up, having reliable cash flow. That seems to be the focus because they've been through that new business phase. But the power of pausing and asking the question, does success look like this, really can unpack quite a lot. And it does tend to do that in the conversations I have with clients. And I'd love to ask the question of you now. So where you are now in your business and how that integrates with your personal life, let me ask you, does success look like this? And if your immediate instinct is hell yes, to that I want to say congratulations. That's amazing to be in that position. That's what we all aspire to achieve that at some point. Like I said, not saying that's never going to change because we're in a season of life, right? So we're in a season of life, we're in a season of business, things change and evolve and grow, of course. It won't always be so beautifully harmonious where we say, yes, this is what success looks like. It's something we have to work at. We have to keep tweaking, something we have to be conscious of. We can't just leave it and think, oh, well, I'm here now. Great, because life keeps happening and things keep happening such that we need to keep revisiting it so we can tweak things. Otherwise, things fall off kilter, in my experience. If, though, when I ask you the question, does success look like this? If you say, oh, gosh, no, this is not what success looks like, I'd like to go to the next step then and ask you, well, what does success look like? Because if you're in a position right now where you're saying no, great, at least we know. But what does success look like? Because only then can you start working out the steps that you need to take or the process you need to adopt to work towards achieving that success metric or your vision of what success looks like for you. What I really love about these conversations that I have with my clients is that from these conversations comes so much gold for me in developing the documents, in developing the contracts, the client service agreement or the employment agreements, the contractor agreements, whatever it might be. So much gold comes of this because in this, when a client's saying to me, well, no, this is not what success looks like, but I'd like to get to a point where I've got reliable cash flow, where I'm not having to have really awkward conversations with clients because their expectations were misaligned and they're not happy and they want me to do more, but that wasn't in scope, or they thought I'd be engaging that third party, but I'm not. Those sorts of things are absolute gold for someone like me because from that I can pull out the pain points that I need to address in the documents we're developing to set the business owner up for success, to set them on their way to achieving that success. So this question has got many, many layers to it, each that can be really valuable. Similarly, if a client's saying to me, gosh, I'm really not enjoying managing my team, or gosh, I'm really overwhelmed, I've got no time, I can't go to the school assemblies because I'm under the pump with work, I don't have flexibility. Talk to me about what a contractor looks like, Tracy. Talk to me about that. Those are the types of conversations we can have then in relation to the team. Is an employee right for you or is a contractor right for you? Let's have this conversation. Let's loop the accountant in. Let's have that conversation. We can get so much clarity by thinking through the process around what does success look like for me in my business right now. We can then unpack and put a plan in place and develop the steps that we need to go through to work towards achieving that business owner's vision of success. I've posted on LinkedIn this week around my reflection of my son's birthday and how grateful I am to have achieved this. And I've had some really lovely engagement from people talking about their versions of success and what success means to them. And it is different for every business owner. And like I said, it's different depending on what season of life we're in and what season of business we're in. I work with a business strategist, Michelle Broadbent, and you've probably heard me talk about Michelle on the podcast before. And in fact, Michelle has been a guest on the podcast. And one of the really powerful things that Michelle taught me earlier on is that it's okay for success to change regularly for you. It can even be week to week. Michelle talks about her framework for the winning week. She introduced me to that, and I love that. And she said to me earlier on, don't be rigid with this, Tracy. It's okay for it to change. Revisit it regularly, particularly when the school holidays come, because your winning week is going to look very different in the school holidays to what it does during the school term. And she's right. That was a real permission slip that Michelle had given me, because I knew then that I can lean in to really focus and nuance what success looks like for me at the moment during the term, and then take the pressure off, take the pedal off the gas over the school holidays. That's okay. That's permission to do that. Just rework the framework for your winning week over the school holidays, and then tweak it again when the school holidays finish. Having that flexibility was really powerful for me. And it wasn't something that came easily, because my background's in litigation. So it's very rigid, very structured. There's not much room to move there. But running my own business and choosing who I surround myself with and choosing who I work with, Michelle being a key person, really is quite different. And it was a different mindset. And it took me a little while to develop that and to really lean into the comfort and being relaxed about being flexible with that winning week. So success on a week-to-week, month-to-month basis, or on a quarter-to-quarter basis is one thing. And then success more holistically in terms of how the business integrates with your personal life can be another. Doesn't have to be, but can be. And that's okay. The reason I'm sharing that little backstory with you is because that was really pivotal for me, that mindset shift, and having the support from someone like Michelle to be able to really broaden my thinking and capture all of the different moving parts of my life, and to bring them all together in a coherent but flexible way, so that I could then get a really good snapshot of what success looks like at any given point in time. And from there, I've been able to develop over the years to where I am now, which is, yes, this is what success looks like when asked the question. But that winning week framework really has been instrumental in getting here. Like most business owners, when I started, it was a vision. I don't want to be the stressed parent at drop-off and pick-up. I want to be able to be present and go to assemblies and sports days. But I also want time for myself, but I want to be accessible to business owners Australia-wide, because I know how important accessibility is. Growing up in a small rural community, accessibility is so important. I want to be able to achieve that. And I want to work with aligned clients doing work that I love to really enrich their lives. That's the big overarching picture. Years in, breaking it down bit by bit, I've been able to work towards achieving that. Hasn't always been smooth. Let me be very honest about that. It absolutely hasn't always been smooth. And there have been times where I've thought, my goodness, this is really not why I set this business up, to be working this way, or to be in the trenches, or to be so overwhelmed, or whatever it is. But with the right people around, I was able to reflect on the question, is this what success looks like? No, it is not. Why not? What do we need to change? And that has been one of the most important instrumental questions that I could have ever asked to get to here. So I want to ask you, that's why I'm sharing on this episode. It's a short and sharp episode. I'm hoping you get some value out of it. But the way you are set up today, the way you're operating business and how that's integrating into your personal life, is that what success looks like? Does success look like this? If not, let's have a conversation, because I suspect, like most of my clients, there's a whole ton of things we can address in your documentation, your client service agreement, your proposal process, your processes and systems, whether you've got the right contractors or whether you've got the right agreements in place with your team to manage expectations. There really is a lot of fundamentally important work we can do in relation to addressing pain points, getting the right documentation in place, integrating that into processes and systems to set you on a path to be sustainably working towards that metric of success. And I cannot stress enough the importance of who you surround yourself with in business really matters. Right down to your team members, your strategist, your bookkeeper, your lawyer, your accountant. It really, really matters. When we're telling ourselves later, I'll get to it later. In my experience, that means we're unlikely to ever get to it. Later, I find, is a really dangerous word. We don't want to be doing that. That's not going to help set us up for success. And that's not going to help us get to the point where we're saying, does success look like this? Yes, it does. That's the answer we want to get to. But we also want to be supported so we can be flexible. And so we can change and adapt and grow and evolve as we need to throughout the different seasons in business and life. But the only way we can do that, in my view, is by being really clear on what success looks like in any particular season and having the right people around us to give us the support we need to be able to get there. If any of this resonates, please feel free to reach out. I would love to have a conversation to see whether we'd be a good fit to work together and whether I can support you on this journey. And if I can make recommendations to my people or to contacts that I have to help you on that journey, I would be only too happy to do that. As always, thank you for joining me. I'll catch you next time.